She was the largest ship ever built, and yet her maiden voyage would be her last.
How exactly did the Titanic sink?
What if I told you the Titanic wasn't just a shipwreck, but a luxury cruise with a deadly secret? Buckle up, because we're diving into some iceberg-sized conspiracies. Trust me, you'll want to hear this. It's not your typical history lesson. The Titanic, an unsinkable ship or a risky gamble. The Royal Mail ship Titanic, launched on April 10, 1912, was hailed as the most luxurious and unsinkable ship of its time, with advanced features like wireless communication and heated pools. The ship's design included watertight compartments, believed to prevent sinking even with multiple breaches. However, this sense of invincibility led to overconfidence and reckless decisions, such as ignoring iceberg warnings and maintaining high speed. This overconfidence may have contributed to the disaster. Some conspiracy theorists argue that a series of errors and misjudgments point to more than just an accident, suggesting deeper, unexplained factors behind the tragedy. Titanic's maiden voyage, a recipe for disaster. The Titanic's maiden voyage was a spectacle of grandeur and excess, drawing attention from the elite across Europe and America. The wealthy passengers, including high-profile individuals like Isidor Strass, co-owner of Macy's, and John Jacob Astor, one of the richest men in America, were looking forward to experiencing luxury on the high seas. For many, the Titanic was not just a ship, it was a symbol of the height of human achievement. But beneath the luxurious surface, there were significant flaws in its design and operations. The Titanic carried only enough lifeboats for about half of its passengers, and many of those on board had no idea how to properly use them. Even more concerning was the ship's speed. Captain Smith, under pressure to make the crossing faster, chose to ignore warnings of icebergs and continued to sail at near maximum speed. This rash decision proved to be disastrous when the ship collided with an iceberg. The Titanic's watertight compartments, though advanced, were not designed to handle the amount of damage caused by the iceberg, leading to the ship sinking in less than 3 hours. The iceberg. Was it really just an iceberg? The Titanic struck an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. on April 14, 1912. Most historical accounts agree on this detail, but some modern-day theorists have questioned whether the iceberg was the real cause of the ship's demise. While icebergs were common in the North Atlantic at that time of year, some conspiracy theorists suggest that the iceberg was not the sole factor contributing to the Titanic sinking. Could the ship have struck something more than just an iceberg? Some theories point to the possibility of the Titanic having hit a submerged naval vessel or even a mine. The argument here is that the damage caused by the collision was far worse than what one would expect from an ordinary iceberg. However, most experts argue that the Titanic's fatal flaw lay in its design rather than any external factor. The iceberg did inflict critical damage, but it was the ship's lack of sufficient lifeboats and insufficient crew training that led to the high death toll. The lifeboat scandal. Were the rich saved first? The Titanic disaster highlighted a stark class divide in survival rates. With lifeboats for only about half the passengers, many were launched partially filled, with first-class passengers given priority. Third-class passengers faced locked gates and were often left behind to die. This preferential treatment for the wealthy is a documented fact, not just a conspiracy. Captain Edward Smith's failure to order a full evacuation has fueled theories that he prioritized the rich, possibly to protect the reputation of the White Star Line. The theory suggests that the disaster was exacerbated by incompetence and a deliberate focus on saving the elite. The mysterious Titanic conspiracy and J.P. Morgan's involvement. The Titanic disaster revealed a clear class divide in survival rates, with lifeboats for only half the passengers. Many lifeboats were launched partially filled, prioritizing first-class passengers. Third-class passengers struggled to reach lifeboats due to locked gates, leading to many being left behind. This preferential treatment for the wealthy is documented, not just a conspiracy. Captain Edward Smith's failure to fully evacuate has led to theories suggesting he prioritized the rich, possibly to protect the White Star Line's reputation. This theory points to incompetence and a deliberate focus on saving the elite. The missing evidence. Was the Titanic really the Titanic? One of the most persistent and bizarre conspiracy theories surrounding the Titanic is the claim that the ship that sank was not the Titanic at all, but its sister ship, the Royal Mail ship Titanic Olympic. The theory suggests that White Star Line had been involved in an earlier accident with the Olympic, causing significant damage. Rather than repair the ship, some theorists argue that the company swapped the Titanic with the Olympic to collect an insurance payout. Proponents of this theory point to perceived differences in the design of the two ships, including subtle discrepancies in the shape of the hull, the portholes, and the ship's general appearance. However, no physical evidence supports this claim, and most experts agree that the Titanic and the Olympic were distinct ships. The theory remains one of the more outlandish and unsubstantiated in the Titanic conspiracy world. The night the Titanic sank. A series of mistakes or a carefully orchestrated event. The night the Titanic sank is one of the most tragic and well-documented events in modern history. But as with any major catastrophe, conspiracy theorists have long speculated that the disaster was not just the result of a series of unfortunate events, but part of a larger, more deliberate plan. Some suggest that the Titanic was doomed from the moment it set sail, with critical mistakes being made at every level. For example, the Titanic was sailing at near maximum speed despite warnings of icebergs in the area. Additionally, the ship's design, which featured watertight compartments, failed to account for the possibility of multiple compartments flooding at once. Some theorists claim that these decisions were made intentionally, possibly as part of a financial or insurance scheme. However, there is no substantial evidence to suggest that the sinking was anything more than a tragic series of errors and miscalculations. Surviving the Titanic. Who were the true heroes? As the Titanic sank, many passengers displayed remarkable courage, including Captain Smith, who reportedly went down with the ship, and Thomas Andrews, the ship's designer, who stayed behind to assist others. However, conspiracy theories suggest that some individuals were deliberately saved over others based on social status. High-profile passengers like John Jacob Astor and Isidore Straus were given priority for lifeboats, while many third-class passengers were left behind. This disparity in survival rates has fueled speculation about a systemic preference for the wealthy. While there is no definitive evidence to support the idea that the rich were intentionally saved, the class divide on board the Titanic remains a controversial and debated aspect of the tragedy. The Titanic's legacy, a story that never ends. Even over a century later, the Titanic's legacy continues to capture the imagination of people around the world. Books, movies, and documentaries have kept the story alive, often highlighting the tragedy, the class divisions, and the heroism displayed during the disaster. In the 21st century, new technologies and expeditions to the wreck site have offered new insights into what happened that fateful night. Yet, despite the numerous investigations and discoveries, many questions remain unanswered. Could the Titanic have been saved if the crew had been better trained, or if the ship's design had been slightly different? Was there more to the disaster than just an unfortunate accident? As new information comes to light, the conspiracy theories continue to evolve. Whether or not we'll ever know the full truth about the Titanic remains an open question. The Titanic conspiracy, a modern twist on an ancient tragedy. As we move into the future, the Titanic story is far from over. Conspiracy theories continue to thrive, fueled by new findings, documentaries, and books that keep the mystery alive. The ship's sinking remains one of the greatest maritime disasters in history, but it has also become a symbol of overconfidence, class divisions, and human error. In 2024, with the growing interest in deep-sea exploration and the continuous uncovering of new information, the Titanic's legacy will likely continue to inspire debate and speculation. Whether the Titanic disaster was merely an accident or part of a more intricate plot is a question that may never be fully answered. But one thing is certain: the Titanic will always remain a mystery that captivates the world. That's all for today's video. If you found this dive into the Titanic disaster fascinating, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Don't forget to share this video with others who love a good mystery. Thanks for watching.